Today's sponsor is Eva, the most intelligent Amazon scaling toolkit online. Amazon sellers need exact, quick-to-read profit reports. Many sellers already pay a lot of money for these. Eva has world-class finance analytics with crystal-clear graphs included at no extra cost. Eva serves hundreds of seven-figure sellers, averaging a 51% increase in profits. To get a 15-day free trial, just go to amazingfba.com/Eva. That's amazingfba.com/EVA. Ladles and jelly spoons, boys and girls, welcome back to the 10K Collective podcast, the place to be for 6, 7, and even 8-figure Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers. And it's a subset of the Amazing FBA podcast. Today, we are welcoming Anna Santiago from Outsource School. A little bit about outsourcing. Hiring a VA or outsourcing is something that people talk about a huge amount of the time amongst Amazon owners and e-commerce business owners. It's actually less often implemented, and quite often I've come across people who otherwise got very good businesses who outsource, and it doesn't really work very well. So if you've considered hiring a VA but not taking the plunge, or if you've tried hiring but it's not really worked out for you, then I think today's guest, Anna, is going to really help change that for you. So Anna, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I am so glad to be here, and I'm excited to share valuable information that I hope everyone else finds valuable as well.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, you're the COO or Chief Operating Officer of Outsource School. I know you've been working remotely for over 10 years. You've been managing a team of over 15 VAs, so incredibly experienced. But let's talk, before we even talk about it in general, about your relationship to Outsource School, because I think that tells us a lot, doesn't it? So I know Nathan Hirsch and Connor Gillivan, they previously owned FreeUp, which is an
Yeah.
outsourcing agency, and they now teach people how to outsource, which is Outsource School. But
Mm.
what is great is that I spoke to Nathan recently and reached out to see if he would come on the show, and he said, no, I no longer do interviews. Talked to our COO, Anna, and I was a bit skeptical because I'm used to interviewing, the company owners, and I spoke to you and I thought, wow, this is going to be a great interview. So you are a living example of outsourcing. So tell us how that came to be, because that's an unusual situation. Most people don't outsource podcasts.
Yeah, no, I just want to say you're not the first person who's been skeptical of having me on their show, because they're usually not used to the idea of having a Filipino
Yeah.
virtual assistant or freelancer on their podcast. So,
This is true. I admit this was a bit of skepticism there, and I thought, well, okay, let's talk to them and see what they like. And of course, I found that you were incredibly intelligent, articulate, and all the things you want from a guest. But yeah, tell me more about that how come it came to be, and what that sort of resistance is about. What do you think that is behind that?
yeah, so that's a little bit complex, but let me break it down in a way that people will understand a little bit easier. So I've been working for about 10 years as a freelancer. So I started with basic tasks, repetitive data entry type tasks. But as the years went by, I added to my skill set like social media management, web development, SEO, Amazon. I did a ton of Amazon work and other e-commerce platforms as well. But I'm not going to tell you all of my experience. This isn't the job interview, right? So, long story short, I got so much experience under my belt, and I had a passion for it. Was just built within me to be a leader. I'm the type of person that's proactive. I like done things right. I am a perfectionist. And the truth is there are a lot of Filipino virtual assistants like me. Not me. I'm one of a kind, definitely, yes. But there are a lot of hardworking, very skilled workers in my part of the world that people don't know about. So when they talk about virtual assistants, they feel that virtual assistants can do only data entry or appointment setting or check your emails, but that's not the case. Anything that you can do remotely, anything that you can do from a computer, a virtual assistant or a freelancer can do. I mean, look at me. I took over podcasting for Nathan, marketing, operations. So when I started for Nathan and Connor, I started as a executive virtual assistant. I was their first operations hire. I organized Nathan's calendar, organized his email, basically organized his work life. And I was his right hand girl. And as I started proving my skills and proving my worth to him, he gave me more and more responsibility. It's like he was challenging me or, expecting me to fail. No, he wasn't. He was just pushing me to my absolute limits. And he was same with Connor. They constantly hone my skills, pushing me to my potential, which got me to a team leader a few months later. I got a raise. We got to hire a team that works with me. So I passed over all of the things that I previously did for the company and took on bigger responsibilities. And then a couple of months after that, they said, "Hey, you're COO material. Why don't you try doing the podcast? Why don't you help us run marketing and aside from the operations?" And you guys know that operations is no joke as well. But he saw that I was capable, and there are a lot of people that are capable but not being given the chance. So this is also something that I want to talk about as well. But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. So now, COO of Outsource School, and yeah, I hope that answered your question, Michael.
Absolutely did. Look at you. You're doing all these running a business and everything. I can't even find the mute button here. Yeah, so it's obviously very impressive stuff, but more I think you're kind of opening everyone's minds, mine included, to the quality of people that's available. And like anything else, it varies a huge amount. I've got a VA who's also, like yourself, extremely articulate in American English and kind of American culture in a way that, as a Brit, I find entertaining, that you're kind of you're much closer to American culture, I think, in your way of speaking and your sort of manner than I am, even though I'm like a native English speaker, but of a different variety. And I think that, there's lots of very capable people that I've come across and had work for me, but I suppose I haven't taken the leap of faith in order to bring them on a more sophisticated level, mostly probably because I'm so bad at operations that if I try and outsource it to somebody, they wouldn't know what's going on. It's not a limitation in them, it's in me. But we can talk about that, and we're going to talk in a second sort of segment
Yes.
about the more advanced side of it and how far you can go with it. And you're a living example of how far you can, when you find a capable person, you keep pushing them until you reach the limits of their capability. And if they're really capable, then that's a long way. But let's come
Yeah.
back to the basic thing. So the first thing is, a lot of people haven't outsourced yet, maybe partly because they think, oh, it's just data entry or something. Maybe they're limited. Maybe there's something else. So what do you think is the main limitation or the thing that gets between people and actually starting to outsource as opposed to thinking about it? What's behind that?
Okay. So the number one reason behind not using virtual assistants is like, I don't have the time to train them. I like things done the way I like things done. So basically, if I want things done right, I got to do it myself. That kind of mentality, which is wrong. You can't grow and scale your business if you do not have help. And you'd save a lot of money hiring a virtual assistant, even just to take off the daily, weekly, monthly repetitive tasks, even just the basic stuff, $5 to $8 an hour. You can get a VA to take off what, 2-3 hours of your day. And what would you do with that extra 2 or 3 hours? I mean, just think about it. And another reason why people are scared or hesitant to hire a VA is because they don't know how to train them. They don't know how to build relationships with them. They're scared that there is a huge communication barrier, but that's not the case. Like you said, the culture is very similar to different countries. As you know, we've had a lot of Americans over here in the past, and it basically we're just a lot of cultures mashed together. But generally, Filipino virtual assistants are compassionate. They are family oriented. They want to build relationships. They are kind people, and they're very hardworking in general. So if you have a Filipino virtual assistant, I'm not saying that because I'm biased. It's just that we have the most experience working with Filipino VAs. Nathan and Connor like using Filipino virtual assistants. I mean, their previous business was 100% run by Filipino virtual assistants. And doesn't that make you feel, isn't that amazing to think about, like having your whole business handled and outsourced, run by virtual assistants? And there are so many secrets here, but one of the biggest secrets is building relationships with your virtual assistants, helping them get into the mindset of treating the business as their own. And this reduces the risks terribly. So if you're thinking, the risk of the privacy issues, giving out your passwords, the communication barriers, the training, the amount of time it'll take you. I keep telling people the best way to reduce risk is building relationships with your VAs, treating them like family, making them feel valued, appreciated within your business. And from there, you build that trust. They start working above and beyond for you and your business, treating the business like it's their own. And what was the other point I said earlier? They
I think you were talking
I
about
lost.
this is not surprised. This is great stuff. I really, really like this. You were saying the reason, really, the resistance behind entrepreneurs in Europe, UK, or USA hiring people don't feel they got trying to train them. If I think want things
Ah,
done right,
right.
then I need
There
to
we
do it
go.
myself. So that maybe they're related to that.
Yes, exactly. So I want to ask you for $5 to $8 an hour. I'm just gonna talk in US dollar terms because I'm more familiar with that. I'm
That's fine.
sorry if
I
it's
think most Brits are very familiar with that as well. We're used to translating it. So $5 is
yeah,
whatever, £3, £50,
yeah,
£75, depending
about
on the
that.
exchange rate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in pounds it's about 3 to 6. Let's
Yeah,
say 3 to 6
exactly.
pounds,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so per hour to do all of this heavy operational daily stuff for you, like the things that you hate the most, like opening your emails. And some of you probably have 1,000 or 2,000 emails in your inbox. It's not uncommon, but you can fix that. And you miss a lot of important emails. And if you have a virtual assistant come in 1 or 2 hours a day just to clear out all the spam emails and to notify you, hey, this looks like an important email. You have this to look to when you're awake or when you have the time today. So they do that for you every day. Your inbox is cleared. You get to know who's trying to get in touch with you if it's important or not. And it's $5 to $8 an hour. Can you think of you spending that time instead of working on your business, you're working in your business? Now, ask yourself, how much do you think an hour of your time is worth? Is it worth less than 3 to 6 pounds?
Yeah.
Or is it worth more? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It does. I love it. By the way, I feel like I'm being closed now. Do you use sales calls as well? If you don't, I think that's going to be one of the next jobs that Nathan gives you
Oh,
because I feel like I'm being
no.
closed. For this is very good. I mean, because I think you're right. How much should your time be worth? If you're living in London, San Francisco, New York, Paris, one of the seriously expensive cities in the world, if your time value is less than, I don't know, 15 or £20 an hour, 15, $25, whatever, then you're in very serious trouble. And I think you make an
Exactly.
extremely good point. What I would say is a lot of us spend a lot of time on things that are not high value adds but have some value. I would suggest
Hmm.
that you either need to delegate the $5 an hour tasks or you need to just
Yeah.
not do them. Like literally have an inbox that is 10,000 emails and you never check because if you're doing something else that's worth $50 an hour instead, then that's better than spending an hour time on a $3 an hour task, which probably nobody should be doing, you know. So the main thing I would say, which leads into I think some of the reasons behind why people don't hire anyone is because they know at some level, and they're probably right. And I'm still somewhat in this place and trying to fight my way out of it. That they're not ready to outsource yet because what they do every day is a bit of a mystery to them. They don't know what the dollar value per hour of their tasks are, and they're not really sure what they do each day, except they stand up for the computer at 8 p.m. at night, exhausted, having done stuff. So how do we deal with? I guess this is like getting yourself ready to outsource implies having some kind of structure to your day and tasks. So I suspect that's part of the prelude to why people don't outsource because they're kind of not ready. So how do we even get ready for that first outsourcing?
Well, we teach a lot of this. All of your questions today, we teach at Outsource School, but our main system is called Cracking the VA Code, and it actually focuses on helping you prepare to make the hire. Things like what you need to outsource. So we help you create lists. We help you figure out how much a VA for those tasks will cost. We have job post templates that you can just copy and paste. We have pre-made interview questions that we found very, very efficient. And what's the other word?
I got you the answers you found out what you needed to know, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, we have efficient and other questions. We have these interview questions that you use that work, basically.
Great,
They really
perfect.
work.
Yeah,
They
good.
work, and you really get to know who you're talking to. And the best part is we do these interviews through chat. I know it's weird. You usually do interviews face to face or on Zoom call, but our questions work better because they're on chat. We focus on finding the red flags so that you know what you're dealing with upfront instead of not really understanding what you're getting into with the virtual assistant. And then of course we go through the onboarding process, talking about the scheduling, the potential issues that you may encounter, the culture. So you have to establish culture with you and your VA, the values, and then communication channels. We go through how to train your virtual assistant the best way. We have special techniques, how to create amazing SOPs. So I want to focus on that really quick before I jump into the other part of cracking the VA code. SOPs are really important for people who want to start to outsource, even just basic SOPs. And SOPs stand for Standard Operating Procedures. This is where you list out the tasks that you have within your business. So if you don't have any now, I suggest you start doing those, even if it's just the basic steps. Like you just list out what you want to happen with this specific task. And then when your VA starts learning about the task and masters the task and gets to know how you like things done, they can come in and improve those SOPs through time. So you don't really have to have a solid standard operating procedure that lists all of the potential problems that come up from A to Z. No, just have like the basic steps, what you want to happen, what your goal is, important reminders, exceptions to the rules, the no-nos. And guess what? We have a playbook on this as well, how to create great SOPs. So yeah, my point is having these systems and processes in place will save you a ton of time on training. And, a lot of people spend 8 hours of their day trying to train their virtual assistant, when in fact, all they need is to have these SOPs, have the VA do the research on their own, give them all of the documents and all of the links to your business, everything that you can give them to learn about you and those tasks. And then just come back, check on them, ask them if they have any questions, test them on what they learned, and then come in and say, hey, this is how I would do it if I were you. Just help them improve how they do it through time. Takes about a couple of weeks to train them, but after that they start improving your systems and processes for you moving forward. And then as new tasks come in, you just give it to them. Hey, Anna, here's a new task. I want you to figure out the best way to do this task, and once you do, create an SOP for it. And then when your tasks start to build up, because you're scaling, because you're growing, you can hire another virtual assistant under your first virtual assistant, and your first virtual assistant can train your second virtual assistant. You save a ton of time there. Okay, so back to what I was saying. We have these systems and processes in place where we give you everything you need to know, from the basics all the way up to managing your virtual assistant, how to give bonuses and raises, how to fire virtual assistant, what kind of meetings you need to hold, why is it important to have those meetings, what you tell your VAs in those meetings, quarterly meetings, reviews, how to do them. We have playbooks and formulas that revolve around the operations side of your business and the marketing. Things like getting a VA to do your bookkeeping. Did you ever think of that? Or
right in the middle of getting that done as you speak. Somebody actually approached me on Facebook, by the way. If you're listening to the podcast, please don't do this because it very rarely works. But they approached me on Facebook cold and said, "Hi, I'm based in the Philippines. I do bookkeeping." And I said, "I need a bookkeeper. Let's book in a Zoom call," which never normally happens, but it was an example of cold Facebook chat outreach. I mean, I had sent a friend request to him, but yeah, that's actually something I'm really, really happy to have in place, because my books have been a mess for a long time and I've known it. I've had kind of book shame.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a great thing to get done for sure.
Yeah, while you mentioned it, it's actually a good thing to point out. Don't entertain. We go against entertaining people who reach out to you over Facebook, because there are very great platforms out there that pre-vet VAs, and if they are doing the outreach themselves, it probably means that they've been kicked out from other platforms. They don't have the experience, or they are not a team player. There are a bunch of other things, but basically try to stay away from anyone who emails you saying, hey, I'm a virtual assistant, maybe you need one, or on Facebook. Instead, go to a credible platform where you can get pre-vetted good VAs with experience. because a lot of the time it won't work out and it'll cost you business turnover. And we all know that turnover can kill businesses, whether it's from a bad hire
Yeah.
or because you spent too much time on someone that didn't work out because they didn't
Yeah.
have the experience that you needed. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. This is not advice of what to do at home or how to pitch me, because as I said, this is the exception that proves the rule. Like anyone else I've ever hired, I've gone through quite a lengthy process to hire them. And yes, we could talk
Yeah.
about hiring separately. I'd like to make sure that we serve the needs of the possibly a majority of listeners who don't have virtual
Yes.
assistants yet, but want to get into getting them. I mean, I think one of the things we've skipped over a bit, but which is maybe a cultural in the broader sense, sort of hurdle for them to overcome is the idea of hiring somebody from overseas, because they're used to getting their products made in China quite often, or wherever it is, China, possibly India, but a lot of the time they won't be used to interacting on a daily basis with somebody as part of their team who's overseas. So we've talked about why I hired from the Philippines, and I, by the way, I agree. I don't think, for me personally, as somebody who hires from the Philippines, got two people on my team in the Philippines, that it's partly an affordability thing, but a lot of it is just, as you said, the quality of the people, the work culture they have is kind of what I
Mm.
wish British people had as a work culture, and the best do. But the best in Britain with that kind of work culture are normally very expensive, but your average hire in Britain, I think, just less conscientious than in the Philippines. So for me personally, that's a great reason to hire there. But what are some of the other advantages of hiring virtual assistants over in-person employees, and that area?
That's one of the questions that I find most, the difference between a VA versus a personal assistant. Really, there is no difference. It's just
Right.
that you work with them virtually, but you can still build the relationships with them. You can still communicate on a daily basis with them. It's just that you're not in the office. It'll be slightly different, but I'll use myself with Outsource School as an example. I have really strong relationships with Nathan and Connor, and I've only met them once before, briefly. We probably said two sentences to each other. That's it. But now they're not just my bosses, they're my friends. And because we have this great culture, we built this great culture where our values are in line with each other. We understand how important the business is. I love the business, so therefore I love them as well, and they appreciate me, they value me, they make sure to understand what I'm going through outside of work as well, what my hobbies are, what my priorities are, my goals, my desires, my drive. They make sure that they get to know me outside of the work. Okay, so it is not different from someone that you can hire in the office if you do the same things. I mean, that's exactly how you would treat your personal assistant. You talk to them, have a conversation over your morning cup of tea, and say, hey, how's your life? What did you do over the weekend? Is exactly what we do as well. So no difference. Perks are you save money. Second is hiring from the Philippines. They're used to working the night shift. And if you're hiring from the UK, then great. They can start their work day at 3 in the afternoon. So they're used to working the night shift, late afternoons. They can do day shift as well. They're flexible, good rate. We have great communication skills. One of the top businesses in the Philippines are BPO companies, telemarketing companies, telecom companies of UK and of the US. I've worked for several UK companies myself. eBay UK, I've worked for TalkTalk. So we talk to different countries, people from different countries. So our communication skill is there. It's not going to be an issue for you. And again, going back to the culture, we are fast learners. We are very respectful. We are very compassionate people, hardworking because we like to take care of our family. Okay, this is another juicy trivia for you guys. The average daily wage for someone that works here in the Philippines is about 12 to $15 day. A day. And that is not much. We still live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
We don't have enough money to expect an emergency trip to the hospital or anything like that, or savings or nothing. So that's why our living here is not as great as other countries, but being a virtual assistant opens up so many other opportunities for us that we wouldn't have otherwise. So the opportunity to save, the opportunity to give our children a better life. So this is why we are very compassionate about our work. This is why we are hard workers. This is why we learn fast. This is why we love learning new things. And this is why we would go above and beyond for you if you were our client, because we want to have a better, brighter future for ourselves and for our children. So that
Amazing.
in itself is a great motivation for why you should hire from the Philippines.
There's something like a sort of more respectful sort of the Asian flavor to the American dream. In other words, it's about working for your family, building a brighter future. All this is very, great communication skills. These are very kind of American virtues, if you like. And but
Yeah.
there is a sort of a way. I mean, I've had American assistants as well who are great, wonderful, just more expensive. And there's a different
Yeah.
cost structure. But I think in both cultures there's a good work ethic. I think, frankly, in Europe, sometimes the UK, not the right people, but sometimes it's harder to find people who are respectful about the opportunity they're getting. For them, it's just a paycheck and that's it. And
Mm,
by the way, I've been one of those
mm.
people in the past with some jobs. I'm not necessarily a great employee.
Ah,
One reason why I'm an entrepreneur, because I'm not that employable. Whereas the people I've had in the Philippines, as you say, I find all those things to be true. They're very appreciative of the opportunity. Not in every case of everyone I've ever interviewed, but the people I've hired, as you say, you've got to go
yeah.
through a hiring process. So you've got to find the right people, and that's obviously one of the things that people have as a fear is like hiring
Yeah.
somebody who's not the right person. So I know you guys at Outsource School have incredibly detailed, structures and
Hmm.
SOPs and training.
Yeah.
But if you had to break it down to the basics, how do we avoid getting somebody who's a disappointing hire and get somebody who's the right person for the job?
Right. Okay. So before I get into that, I just wanted to. You mentioned something earlier that piqued my interest. You being like the type of person that is just there for the paycheck. So I was
Yeah,
that type of employee as well. So it's nothing to be ashamed about. We've all been there, right? So
thank
just
you. I feel
clocking
better
in
now.
at 9 and clocking out at 5. There was this something different with my experience with outsource school. I've had so many clients over the years, and they never really cared about who I was. They never listened to my feedback, listened to my advice. I mean, I'm probably still relatively the same person I was 3 or 4 years ago, but why didn't my clients use me to my potential? Why didn't they see my value? It's because they treated me as just an employee. They never listened to my ideas, my feedback. They never, when I said that I had the passion to learn more within the business and if they would give me more responsibility, they never did, because they just felt like I was just a VA. Why would they listen to me? Right? I wouldn't know as much as the CEO of that particular company knew. But a lot of the greatest ideas come from virtual assistants if you just listen. And so I left those clients to work full time with outsource school. And these guys, some of these guys are from long ago. But my point is the difference I felt is that Nathan and Connor listened to me, made me feel valued, made me feel appreciated. They take my ideas and my feedback and they really implement it within the business, because they also agree that some of those ideas were great. Some of them maybe not so much, not all the time, right? But if they do have great ideas, listen, get their feedback on everything happening within the business. Be open and honest with them about the growth. Maybe they have something that they can share that'll get your business doing better. Right. And appreciation, building the relationships is very important. This is how you get an Anna within your team, because otherwise I probably would have left Nathan and Connor there if they didn't see my value and if they didn't give me the raise or the promotion. I mean, it's not about the money,
Mm,
but I just wanted the growth. I just
yeah,
wanted the ability to be part of something bigger, be treated as family, and that's what I got. And again, it doesn't really matter how much you pay them, but if they feel that you love them and you appreciate them, they will stay with you. They won't go looking for other higher paying clients because they built a family there. They love the business and they want it to succeed. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Now you were going back to your question earlier. Could you remind me again of
yes,
what
of
you
course.
asked?
I guess that what you've answered is the flip side of how do I get the right person? I guess
There
what
you
you
go.
just said is, I suppose, but let's separate these things out. So
Yes.
I guess my question was, how do I avoid getting the wrong person? And your answer is kind of more sophisticated, which is it's not necessarily about the person, it's about the relationship. So I've been in jobs where I've been incredibly committed as an employee and gone way
Yeah.
beyond what I was getting paid to do, putting
Yes.
hours and hours. And I've had jobs where I just turned up, did the minimum and left. So I guess I
Yes.
was the same person, you're the same person. So we both, as an employees, if you like, or freelancers being used by somebody for a certain number of hours, experienced that relationship. So I suppose what you're saying is you just answer the question of how do I get a great relationship to get the right stuff out of a
There you
person.
go.
Having said that, though, before that, you still got to find a person. It's true. There are some
Yes,
people
yes.
are harder working than others. Some people are more loyal than others. Some people are just have more capacity hidden within them, as clearly Connor and Nathan
Yeah.
spotted in you. But not everyone's going to be an Anna. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think today's guest, Anna Santiago from Outsource School, exemplifies how far you can go with outsourcing. As I said to Anna, the thing that struck me very much is that pretty much every CEO or owner of an agency or an Amazon SaaS business, software as a service, or anything else to do with the podcast in the Amazon space is the person who appears on podcasts. And they often have a COO or a chief operating officer or a team, if they've really outsourced things well, who deals with the day-to-day stuff, but they're the face of the brand and the voice of the brand. And it's pretty unusual and courageous to outsource the, if you like, the face of the brand to somebody else. There's only one other agency that I can think of that's actually done that to some degree apart from Outsource School. So that shows how far you can go with hiring a great person, training them up and making them part of your business culture. So a great example of the quality of person as well that you can get in the Philippines. The idea, if you're UK or Europe or US based, that you're just going to the Philippines for price reasons, I think is a complete myth, and Anna blows that out of the water. So, very interesting stuff. I think the interesting things I take from today, and I'd encourage you to reflect on as an e-commerce business owner looking to grow and get things off your plate and get some time back, is first of all remind yourself of how you got started, why you got started. It probably wasn't so you could work 100-hour weeks, right? But we'll forget that and get obsessed with the business. So reminding yourself that you need time back, and that's one of the reasons why you started this business model probably, is an important reminder. And then how do we go about it? Well, a lot of the secret seems to be about building a relationship with people, how to get ready to outsource. There's a nice list of tasks there. The importance of adding SOPs, and really some of the advantages of virtual assistants, and what are the differences between a virtual assistant and a personal assistant, which I guess the answer was not much, really, and the upsides of the Philippines. And then finally, really, I think the core of today's podcast is all about how to get somebody really motivated and engaged, and how to get the maximum out of who they are. And it turns out, given the right person and the right job, that can be really big. That the capacity that I think Anna's exhibited today is huge. I mean, you think about it, somebody in their second language, literally thousands of miles away from where the business owner lives, nevertheless representing their brand in an incredibly high level, for me is an example of how far this stuff can go. So hope that inspires you, and also hope it's useful. Some practical do's and don'ts, particularly about managing that relationship. If you want to check out more resources from Outsource School, there's lots of things they've got going there. So if you go to amazingfba.com/outschool school, they will give you discounts off the yearly plan and things like that. So their main system is called Cracking the VA Code. They also have other playbooks, in other words, sort of SOPs and ways of doing things like partnership, project management, bookkeeping, how to hire a bookkeeper and work with them. Really important one that I've just gone through myself: customer service, video editing, graphic design, you name it. They also have coaching sessions with Anna, the COO, as well as Nathan and Connor, who are the business owners and CEO, so I guess joint CEO. If you go through Amazing FBA's link, you will get a 20% discount code off their yearly plan. Plus, you will get what they call the Care Plus package, which means Anna will do some hiring and interviewing for a person on your behalf to a very high standard, saving you 10 to 20 hours of hiring work, possibly more. And that's normally valued at $597. So if you want to get all that good stuff, or explore what you would get, then you can go to amazingfba.com/outsource school. Outsource School, as it sounds, and then mention Amazing FBA, and we'll put a code in, but I guess the code Amazing FBA will probably work. We'll probably sort that out. And if you want to talk to Anna herself, just email Anna, ANA at outsourceschool.com. That is Anna, ANA at outsourceschool.com. So that's the mechanics of how to get involved. I've known Nathan and Connor for several years now. I've been repeat guests on the podcast. I've hired people through their Free Up, which is the business they owned and sold. And I've also recommended them to other clients I've had over the years. So know them well, worked with them. They really, really, really know their stuff. And Anna obviously does now as well. So this is a great place to get the source of wisdom. And if you're serious about scaling, then learning to hire and learning to manage people is pretty much the number one skill, I would say. And these guys are experts at it. So definitely worth checking out. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to the 10K Collective podcast.